Vernell Cobb was 69 years old. For most of her life, she believed a good Christian woman absorbs every blow in silence. So she absorbed Dovie Prines, the woman from her church who spread a lie about her family and never spoke to her again. Vernell stayed quiet, because she thought that was what Jesus required when he said to love your enemies. She was wrong. Not about Jesus. Here's why. On the night before he died, the officer's hand came down hard across the face of Jesus. Not a fist. An open palm. A raphisma. A blow designed to humiliate. And Jesus did not turn the other cheek. He opened his mouth and spoke. He answered him, "If I have spoken evil, bear witness of the evil. But if well, why smitest thou me?" He named the injustice. He demanded a witness. He did not strike back. That changes everything about what that command actually means for you today. The command everyone quotes is 5 words long. Love your enemies. But Jesus never left it at 5 words. He built it verb by verb, and each verb has its own weight. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. 4 verbs, 4 separate actions. And the first one is the one most people misunderstand. The word Jesus chose for love here was not phileo, the word for warmth, for the affection you feel towards someone whose company you enjoy. It was agapao, a verb of decision. Agapao is what you do when the feeling is not there, and you act anyway. Jesus never commanded his people to feel fondness for the person who destroyed their trust. He commanded a decision. Now look at the people the command addresses. The word translated despitefully use is eperiasto. It means to harm someone with deliberate, calculated malice. Not a misunderstanding, not a disagreement. Malice. Jesus knew exactly who he was talking about. The enemy of this text is not someone who voted differently or forgot a birthday. The enemy is someone who hates, curses, abuses, and pursues. And still, the next verb is bless. The Greek is eulogeo, literally, to speak well of. An act of the mouth. Verifiable. Not an emotion produced by effort, but a sentence you choose to say. Vernell had a bird feeder hanging outside her back window. She filled it every morning. Same time, same seed. The cardinals came, the wrens came. None of them ever looked back. None of them said thank you. She never thought of that as practice. Jesus pressed further. He asked a question no one expects from the Sermon on the Mount. For if ye love them which love you, what reward have ye? Do not even the publicans the same? The publicans, the Teleni, were the local tax collectors, collaborators with the occupying empire, the most despised category of person in a Jewish town. Jesus reached for the lowest rung of social standing and said, even they can manage to love the people who love them back. If your love only moves toward those who return it, you have not yet done anything that costs you. And if ye salute your brethren only, what do ye more than others? That word salute, aspazomai, means simply to greet someone. To acknowledge them as a person. Jesus made that the floor, the minimum. Not love, not forgiveness, just the willingness to acknowledge that the person across from you is still a human being. The reward, the misthos, the wage, does not come from the transaction. It comes from the resemblance to the Father. Before going any further, it is worth stopping on what Jesus did not say, because the weight most people carry about this command comes from things the text never actually asked. First, Jesus never said trust your enemy. Nowhere, not once. Love is commanded, trust is earned, and it requires evidence. Second, he never said go back. He never told the beaten wife to return to the house. He never told the betrayed friend to reopen the door. Love does not require proximity. Third, he never said feel nothing. The command is agapao, a decision. The ache, the anger, the grief, those are not sins. They are human. The command sits on top of them, not instead of them. Fourth, He never said, "Pretend it did not happen." His own response in that courtyard proves it. He named the blow. "If I have spoken evil, bear witness of the evil. But if well, why smitest thou me?" He demanded an account. Naming the wrong is not hatred, it is honesty. Fifth, he never prohibited boundaries. Not once in the Sermon on the Mount does Jesus say that calling the authorities is sin, that removing yourself from danger is disobedience, or that protecting your children from a violent person dishonors God. 5 enormous weights that Jesus never placed on anyone's shoulders, and millions of people carry them anyway. If you have carried one of those 5 weights, there is something waiting for you in the first pinned comment below this video. It is the Watchman's Guide, a tool built for the person who just realized that the command she has been trying to obey was never the command God actually gave. It is free. It is there. It was prepared before you arrived. There is a scene in the Gospels that most sermons skip. James and John, 2 of the closest disciples, watched a Samaritan village refuse to welcome Jesus. Their response was immediate. "Lord, wilt thou that we command fire to come down from heaven and consume them?" Jesus turned and rebuked them, and said, "Ye know not what manner of spirit ye are of, for the Son of Man is not come to destroy men's lives, but to save them." He did not punish the village, but he did not stay either. He went to another village. Departure without destruction. Boundaries without fire. When Peter drew a sword in the garden, Jesus stopped him cold. "Put up again thy sword into his place, for all they that take the sword shall perish with the sword." But that was not the end of justice. Paul would later write to the Romans what the law had always meant. "Avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, Vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord." The Greek word for vengeance there is ekdikeo, a judicial term. It does not mean violence, it means rendering what is owed. God did not abolish justice, he transferred it. The gavel changed hands. The victim is released from the need to deliver the sentence. This is what Elisha understood centuries before. When the king of Israel had captured a Syrian army struck blind by God, the king asked, "My father, shall I smite them? Shall I smite them?" And Elisha said, "No. Set bread and water before them, that they may eat and drink, and go to their master." He fed the enemy. He did not reconcile with the enemy. He did not invite them to stay. He fed them, released them, and the raids stopped. The bread worked where the sword would have started a cycle. Exodus had already commanded the same thing, generations earlier. "If thou meet thine enemy's ox or his ass going astray, thou shalt surely bring it back to him again." Even the animal of your enemy deserves care. The enemy does not stop being your enemy, but the animal still needs water. Everything Jesus taught about the enemy leads to one anchor, and it is not the enemy's change of heart. "That ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. For he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust." The motive is the Father, not the result. Luke recorded it with a word most translations soften. "But love ye your enemies, and do good, and lend, hoping for nothing again. And your reward shall be great, and ye shall be the children of the highest, for he is kind unto the unthankful and to the evil." Unthankful. The Greek is akariston, someone who has received good and never acknowledged it. God is kind to them anyway, not because they deserve it, because that is who he is. The word translated kind, krestos, does not mean pleasant. It means useful, practically beneficial. God delivers actual good into the hands of people who will never say thank you. He grows their crops, he sends their rain, he sustains their children. And then Luke arrives at the floor of the whole teaching. "Be ye therefore merciful, as your Father also is merciful." Merciful. The word is oiktermon, compassion that comes from the gut, not the intellect. It is an attribute of the Father himself, not a feeling manufactured by willpower. Jesus did not say, "Produce mercy." He said, "Your Father already is this. Resemble him." Stephen understood. As the stones hit his body, His last recorded prayer was not a curse. Lord, lay not this sin to their charge. The same cry Jesus had spoken from the wood. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Neither Stephen nor Jesus expected the attackers to stop. Neither waited for an apology. Both prayed for the enemy while the blows were still falling, and both left the outcome with the Father. The question that remains is not theological, it is personal. What do you do on the morning after you realize the person will never apologize? Forgiveness is not one thing, it is at least four, and they do not move together. Forgiveness, releasing the debt, choosing not to hold the account open, is between the wounded person and God. It is a decision, like agapao. It can begin before the enemy knows it happened. Trust is different. Trust requires evidence over time. Jesus forgave Peter, but he also asked him 3 times, "Do you love me?" Restoration was not instant. Reconciliation requires 2 willing people. One person cannot reconcile alone. The person who was wronged is not responsible for engineering the other person's return. And access, the permission to re-enter the life, the home, the church, that is earned. It is not owed. These 4 things are often collapsed into one. When they are, the wounded person feels that forgiving means reopening every door, immediately, with no evidence that anything has changed. That was never the command. Jesus said, "I say not unto thee, until 7 times, but until 70 times 7. The number was not a math problem, it was a picture of a posture, a refusal to close the account permanently. But the account being open does not mean the door is unlocked. And the word Matthew used when he recorded Jesus' final instruction in that same passage was teleos, tou laklios. Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. Most translations leave it as perfect, and it sounds crushing. But teleos does not mean flawless. It means complete, whole, mature. The goal is not a person who has no wound. It is a person whose wound has not made her less than who God designed her to be. Vernelle still fills the bird feeder every morning. She stands on the back step of her house in Ozark, while the sky turns from black to gray, and she pours the seed into the tray. The cardinals come, the wrens come, they eat, they leave. They do not thank her. She used to think that was just a chore. Now she sees it for what it is. Her Father makes his sun rise on the evil and on the good. He sends rain on the just and on the unjust. He is kind to the acariston, the ones who never look back. Dovie Prine never called. The lie still floats somewhere in the county. Vernelle does not pretend it did not happen. She does not call it good. She does not trust the woman. But she has stopped waiting for the apology to arrive before she lives her life. And some mornings, standing at that feeder, she thinks of that courtyard, the officer's open palm, the sound on stone, and the voice of Jesus, calm and clear, asking the only question that mattered. If I have spoken evil, bear witness of the evil. But if well, why smitest thou me? He never asked her to call the blow a blessing. He asked her to stop returning it. That was enough. It was always enough.